anyone has any questions, I'm just going to start. I'm going to open QGIS. I'm currently running 3.24. I know 3.26 is out, but that's what I'm currently working with. And yeah, so hi to everybody who's in the room. Please feel free to unmute and chat. I'm not going to pick out people as we go, just, yeah, chat away. I would, yeah. Is everyone good? Everyone cool? Knows what's happening? Happy? Brilliant stuff. All right. So perhaps I'll ask someone. I see Jeremy is in the room. You're someone who, you know, did some studying and now suddenly you're using QGIS in your everyday work as an intern. And I see he jumped straight out of the room as I asked. Alrighty. So let me share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see my current window that I'm sharing. If someone can give me an indication of that, that'd be great. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Cool. So I'm going to just open QGIS as a new user. We can see that this, I'm just going to hide this, it's annoying. So the first absolute thing that you see is here you have a browser, you have your layers panel, you have what we call the map panel, or your map canvas. Then you have your news feed here. So these are things that are coming from the community. You can see that the Open Day advert is here, etc. And if you want to start a new project, then there's a really easy way to come and start a brand new mapping project. So let's click on that. And I think the greatest thing about QGIS is that it's completely customizable. You can drag things around, look at different things in a different way. So you don't have to do it as, the program specifically says, for want of a better word. So first things first, if I was a brand new user and I'd opened to this, I would organize my screen into something that I'm more used to, something that I enjoy working with. So the first things first is you can grab your browser panel, and these windows you can drag around and dock it in different areas. So I prefer, again, this is completely personal preference, to dock out my browser window onto the right-hand side of the screen and have my layers on the left. That allows me to look for data and find different things using the browser panel, as well as easily seeing, especially when I have a map with a lot of layers and a lot of content, all of the layers instead of splitting our different panels into two. What's also great about QGIS is if you want to know what anything is, you can just hover your mouse over it and a tooltip will come up. And the tooltip tells you basically what the little icon does. So for example, if you want to open the data source manager, which is where you're going to find data, you can browse for it on your computer. You can look at different sort of types of data that you're going to include. That is what you can do. So each thing, if you don't know what it is, you can just easily hold your mouse over it and it'll tell you exactly what that thing is for. So then the first question that a lot of people ask is, how do I get some data? So if I can show you, a great place to start is the OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is a open project. It's a community-based project where people map features. They use points, they use lines, they use areas. And it's basically that people in the community go around, they're able to map houses, roads, footpaths, etc. And then this data is open for people to use. Of course, please attribute the project correctly. Attribution is a really important part of open source software. So I think one of the greatest things to be able to use is OpenStreetMap. So I'm going to show from a very beginner's perspective how you can use that to get some data for your area that you can start working with. Because without data, you're not going to know how to use QGIS. You're not going to know how to be able to style different things as a cartographer, which is my fun place. You won't be able to, get anything done. So the first thing I'm going to show, I hope I'm still on the right screen. Everyone can still see. Someone let me know. Cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come here into your browser. If your browser does disappear, don't freak out. Totally fine. Just go here to view, go to panels, and you'll see all the panel options are available to you here. So if you by mistake close something, you'll be able to find it here in your panels. Click browser back on and hey presto, there it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry too much about our community coordinate reference system right now, etc., etc. It's a little bit more high grade. Just for now, I'm just going to get some data onto the map that we can look at and play around with. So first things first is there's a really nice Easter egg in QGIS that if you go down here to the bottom of the screen where it says coordinate, there's a bar there. And if you just type in the word world and click enter, there is a world map included in QGIS that you can see all of the different countries. I'm going to use here is the zoom in tool. I'm going to zoom into South Africa because that's where I live. So you can now use the ID tool. So if you go across to here, you can see the identify features. If you click on South Africa, you can see an identify results comes up and you can see that this is the name of that country. That's where we are looking at. So that's a great way to just get easily and quickly country data onto your map. We haven't used a plugin. We haven't used anything, etc. That is just a quick and easy Easter egg you can use. If you want to get more data or things that you can work with in your area, then you can come here to your browser. I like to go to the XYZ tiles. And with QGIS, you'll see there is an OSM, OpenStreetMap, tiles that comes standard. I'm going to switch off this layer. You do so by unchecking that. And once you uncheck that and get out of your ID tag, you can then pull around your map again. And you can see that OpenStreetMap, you have a lot more detail. I'm going to zoom in to, let's see, Johannesburg here, which is close to where I stay. So I know the area quite nicely. Again, you can use your pan on the map tool to go around. This is just an image. An XYZ tile is basically, you can think of it as an image. You can zoom in, have a look, check all the different stuff out. But let's say I want to have a specific look at a specific area and get some points, lines, and polygons that I can play with and have a look at to get a better idea of how QGIS works, just to experiment a little bit, just to be able to style those. So what I'm going to show you how to do is, number one, download a plugin where you can get plugins. And the plugin we're going to download is called Quick OSM. As I mentioned before, it's based on OSM, and it's just a really quick and easy way to get some data for your area. So let's pop over here and zoom in on the map a little bit closer. Let's zoom in right here to this lovely park. And you will see I'm going to just look at this specific area. It's quite zoomed in. That's where I want to look at this Valerie Dean Park. So let's now download a plugin. If you're brand new and you've never downloaded a plugin in your life before, this is how you do it. You'll see in the top menu, there is plugins. You can say manage and install plugins. And it will open this plugin manager. within the plugin manager, we want quick OSM.
We can't see anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. How long has it been like that?
Since the whole time.
No, we can see the map in GIS, but we can't see the menus when you choose them.
Thank you. Let me redo how I'm sharing so that you guys can actually see. Thank you for letting me know. I'm so sorry about that. Let me just check in here. Cool. Okay. Let me reshare my screen, quick stick. Okay, I'm just going to share my entire screen for now so that we can see everything. All right. Is everyone cool? Okay. Awesome.
Appears to be
Great
working
stuff.
out.
So because I'm working, I can't see this screen. My second screen is currently in the office and not with me. So if you have any questions, please just yell. Literally, turn on your mic and say them. So I'm going to continue. I will show you how to get into the plugins menu again, and we can go from there. As I say, if you have any questions, just talk. We're going to have a very chilled session. Alrighty, can you see now?
Yes, we can see now.
Brilliant. So you can see now I've got this OpenStreetMap here, and I'm going to the plugins menu, going to manage and install plugins, and the plugin manager opens. So within the plugin manager, I'm going to look for Quick OSM. So you can see here is the plugin. Grab it. Now, what's great about the plugin manager is you can actually read up on what the plugin is about, who made that thing, what it does. So you can see Etienne made this, and there are a whole bunch of tags and information you can get. For now, let's just install it. It might take some time to install depending on your internet connection. And once you've installed the Quick OSM plugin, you will see the little logo for it here. It's a green magnifying glass. And we can open the plugin just by clicking on it. Make sure that you understand the copyright and the copyrights. Please read through this. Of course, I have done so. So say yes. And here we have the pretty awesome plugin. Now, I have zoomed in to the area on the map that I want to use. What I'm going to do now, that's the easiest way to get some data, is to run a map preset. Etienne, who made the plugin, has made this really cool urban preset. So if I click on that and I scroll to the bottom and I want it in the canvas extent. Remember, we spoke that this is the map canvas. And I've zoomed into an area of interest, that park. That's what it's going to pull the data out for. You have different options here where you can actually, if you have a layer, if you have, say, someone's given you a polygon that you've pulled into QGIS, you can use that. But for now, I'm just going to use the canvas extent. I'm going to say run the preset. And it's going to download and think about life. All right. So it's now, you'll see, there we go. Our data is there. So we can close the plugin. We can switch off OSM in the background. And now you can see here that all of the roads have been included into my map canvas. And you can also see that there are some buildings that have been included. Does someone have a question? Right. So those are two different layers that I have then included onto our map. And you can see, though, it is only roads and buildings. That's what the preset does. And that's how we can see things. But of course, I wanted to have a look at this park, this area, etc. So we can go back to the OSM plugin and get that data. But for now, let's have a look at the actual layers. you can see that the roads have been styled already for you, coming straight from the plugin. And I always find when you first learn in QGIS, it's quite useful to go and see how other people have styled things, and you can learn from that. So to see how they've got, for example, this pink road with the label on it, you can actually double click on the layer. And in this tab here, called the symbology tab, you can see exactly how they have been able to, how they have styled their data. Now, this isn't my preferred way of looking at these things. I prefer opening the layer styling tabs so that I can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So I'll quickly show you how to do that. So you click here. If you hover over it, you'll see the layer styling panel. You'll see when I clicked on it, it has opened the layer styling panel here. I'm just going to overlap that so I can see fully the panel. And you'll see here now, QGIS has done this cool thing where they're two different tabs. You can then swap between your browser, which is where, of course, you get data and you can interact with your computer system, and your layer styling area. So another thing to note from these layers is that these are temporary. Yes, sure, go for it.
Just repeat that again. How did you move the layer styling there?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to close it for now.
Okay.
So what I did was here at the top left-hand side of the layers panel, there's this little, I think it's a paintbrush, but it really looks like a broom sweeping up a rainbow to me.
Yeah,
so go to this little tab that looks like the broom sweeping up the rainbow, click on it, and it will automatically open in your...
Okay. Thank you.
And then, of course, you can dock it as you like. If you want to dock it on this side of your screen, you can click and drag it that side. If you want to dock it the other, click and drag it the other side. And as I mentioned, QGIS will have these tabs at the bottom. So now it looks like my layers has disappeared. What's actually happened is I've just put them all on top of each other. But I prefer my layers to be, you know, outside of this. So I would then grab the tab and put it back, dock it where I need it to be. So yeah, that's basically how I am able to look at the layer styling as I'm working. So there, yeah, thank you for the question. If there, can I ask someone who's in the room, if there are questions in the chat of the Jitsi, obviously going in and out the whole time of QGIS is a bit annoying. So if someone could read them to me, whoever's in the group, shall I volunteer someone? Pardon?
There is a hand from Gabrielle. I think she wants to ask a question.
Go for it. Gabrielle, do you want to ask a question? Yes, no, maybe? All right.
It was a mistake.
Oh, okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to save. I think that's one of the most important things that a new user needs to know how to do to save.
Just before that,
sure.
What is the purpose, or what's the difference between this and what the street map that you had before? Because they were hovering over the same place.
So this one that I had before, that map behind is just an image. So it's just showing you what is there. You can't edit it. It's not a vector layer, so it's not a point line or polygon. So what the OSM does is you can download the actual, say, line roads layer. So it's a vector that you can then edit and style by yourself. So I like monochrome styling. I can show you a project I've made with really nice black and white. And so I like to go in and do my own styling on specific things Yeah,
Okay.
so basically that's what I did. So that's the difference. You're just basically downloading the data onto your machine and in a editable format for yourself.
So you
So-
can use it as an additional layer for analysis, or if I have other layers, this also works as an additional layer, and I can do, yes, I can map it together as an
Yes.
additional layer. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But first you have to save the layer. You can see that these are temporary layers. I'm not so interested in the buildings, so I'm actually just going to get rid of that because there aren't very many that have been mapped in this area. So for now, let's go and actually save this layer. So you can see that this is a temporary layer. So if we go click on it, you'll see that it's we want to save that. So it's going to allow us to save this. You can see that QGIS has multiple formats for saving. I would suggest a geo package. The reason is when I make a project, I like to have one project folder, one geo package that has all of my data in it, and then I also like to have a folder that has all of my styling information in it, saved, done. So it's a neat project that has 3 things in it, all of them named the same, that I can just find all my data, have the project saved, etc. I know earlier today, Marco said that you can save a project in a geo package as well. That's also awesome. You can totally do that. That would then make your project file just one folder, which is the geo package that has all of the information in it. So you can see that there are multiple different options for you to save. I'm going to show you a geo package. It's not necessarily right, but it's useful. It's like its own little database within your file system that has all your spatial data in it. So we're going to go with geo package. We're going to save this geo package onto our computer, wherever you want. It can be on your desktop. And I'm going to call this test. Is that someone who wants to ask a question? If not, do please mute yourself. So we're going to call this test geo package. The layer name is actually roads, but right now it's test 1. We can always change that later. And I'm happy with that. So let's just say okay. And you'll see that the layer has saved successfully. Now, that layer is saved onto my desktop. So if we go to our browser and we go to our desktop, you can see if I go all the way here to test, there's going to be a lot of stuff on my desktop, of course. There is going to be a geo package just called test. I've scrolled too far down, I believe. There we go. So we can see our geo package here. And inside there, it's got this little layer called test 1. And that is, in fact, our roads layer. So what's great about having the geo package already set up is that we can go and grab more data and just put it into this geo package, and there will be more and more layers saved into that. So let's go to OSM again. And now we're going to make an actual query and look for something in this map canvas. So for example, I want to, so you can see here, we can look as a preset, or we can actually do a specific query. So I know that there is a playground somewhere here in this park. So I'm going to look for a playground and see if it actually brings it up what we need. Make sure, again, that you say in the canvas extent. That's really important because you want it for just the area that you have highlighted on your map. What's also great about the Quick OSM plugin is that you can see the history of what you've downloaded. So that's really cool. And so let's run the query and see if we get any playground structures. There we go. So let's exit, and we can see right here, there's a point that shows playground. Now, because we've made our geo package already, what we can do is we can actually just grab this layer, pull it into the geo package. Do you see how I'm hovering over the top of it? Drop it there. And do you see how it's immediately added into our geo package here? So you can see that you can add data that easily, and it's now saved onto your machine for your project. So I'm going to grab it back out because you can see this is still a temporary layer, and just delete the original one. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to work on the data that I've saved on my computer. So what I did was I pulled that layer, dropped it into the geo package, that saved it onto my computer. But to be able to work on that, I dragged it out of the geo package again, just so that I make sure that I'm working on the right data, if that makes sense. I heard two little bings in the Jitsi. Is anyone asking a question? Please let me know.
Appreciative learning. Thank you.
Okay, great stuff. All right, so here is our point. It's a little sad. It's just like a random point. So what I'm going to show, so that is just a basic way of being able to save your data. But you can see now, currently, there's a little star here and an untitled project. So we don't want that. We want to save this project, and let's see. Let me save this project. And the way we can do that is you can go to project and then just say save as, like any old, go to your desktop, and you'll see that this QGIS is how you can save the project. Again, you can save your project straight into the geo package if you would like to, but that's not what I'm going to choose to do. So I'm going to just save this as test 1. That's not the greatest file convention. But now you can see in your browser, you have this project called test 1 and this geo package called test 1. And those are your two generalized things for the project. You could put them both into a folder, which is what I would usually do, or you can save the project straight into the geo package. Didn't want to do it that way. That's fine. So what I'm going to do now that we have our saved project and some saved data is I'm just going to show you some easy layer styling. So you've now been able to get some data. You've been able to save that data onto your computer, perhaps not in the best way. I haven't put it into its own folder, etc. But you've been able to do it. So let's now look at this leisure playground. And I'm going to click on it, make sure that it is selected, so highlighted in blue. And we're going to go to the layer styling. Now, layer styling, I like to make slightly larger so that you can see exactly what you're doing. So the first tab here is your styling or symbology tab. Your second tab down is your label tab. Then you have a tag for masking. I'll show you that. That basically does like this kind of thing where you can't see the pink behind the label anymore. And then you have some other options to do with 3D and QGIS options. But what we're going to mainly focus on right now is symbolizing this point to be useful. Having a yellow point is not useful in a map. It doesn't tell us what's going on there. And also being able to label it. So we're basically wanting to tell people what this thing is. So of course, if you go straight into just the styling, we have some favorites that we can use. If you want to just click on one, you can change it to, say, this effect with a drop shadow. You can see how this is built. So it's two simple markers, one with a drawing effect and one without. But I would actually prefer to make our own little function, our own little feature. So let's delete these. And what we actually want is a single symbol here. And you can see that I have a simple marker as my layer type. But what I'd actually prefer to do is have maybe an SVG marker or any of these markers that are available to us. So these you can go around and play with. I'm going to choose an SVG marker because I want to tell people that this is a little playground. So you can have a look in QGIS. There are a whole bunch of SVGs that are available within the ether, within the program. So have a look. There are a whole bunch of different things. They are split into different files. So we can go ahead and have a look. There are so many different things. You can see different sports equipments. And I went specifically to sport equipment because I wanted to use this little playground symbol. You can see it's a child swinging. That tells me a lot more just visually what that point is about. You can see that it is a kid swinging, therefore it's likely a playground. And when you're making maps, these are things to think about. But you can see that it's red, and I'm not wild about that. Again, me being Miss Monochrome, I'm going to change it to be black. And you can see that our stroke color is also red. You can change that to be black as well. Or you can also change the stroke to just be really much smaller, or no stroke, and that will get rid of the red. So now we can see we have our little playground, and it's labeled with something that, well, the feature looks like a playground. But if you want to share this project with anyone at any point, it's really important to embed the symbol into the project, or else it's not transferable. So if you do use an SVG, just come here to where you embed, and then just say embed file. That doesn't want to open, of course not. There we go. So this window will open. You will see which SVG you are actually embedding, and then just say open. And you will see it will become an embedded file. This means that when you share it with someone else, it is included in your project. It is saved. That SVG is saved as part of your project. It will open, not have a question mark. It will always be that symbol. Next, let's just label this point. So really simply go down to the next tab down, and you can label that. Choose single label, and you will see a whole bunch of options for you. And you will see that the little point has now been named Valerie Dean, which is the park that we're working in. And you can change pretty much everything about the label. Think of it as if you're working in like a word processor, or basically any program. You can change the font. So let's grab something really out there. You can change the style if the font allows, of course. You can size up. You can see the label is absolutely tiny. So we can make it larger. We can make the label into a point, pixels, millimeters, meters at scale. I tend to use map units because it maintains the size of the label no matter what scale you eventually make the map when you make a layout. We'll do just a little bit on layouts. I don't want to go on too much longer, but just a little bit on layouts so that you can see how that is done if you want to make a map, a simple map. So I tend to use map units, but you'll see it changes very, very much. And that's because it's now using your scale units, your map scale units, to make the label. So 20 is not going to be large enough. Nope. It does not want to do that. Okay, let's.
Those units are actually part of your CRS units. You're in WGS 84, so that's the map units are in degrees.
Yes. It does not want me then to do that. Okay, then I'm going to leave it as point just for now so that I can show you how to then make a layout. Again, we can go deep dive into CRS at some point. Would you like to elaborate on CRS and map units? Please go ahead. Sorry, who was talking just now?
That was me. So
well,
with
go ahead.
with with every project, there's a coordinate reference system, and which is basically an attempt to take our spherical Earth and try to map it onto a 2D surface. And by default, it is WGS 84,
That's
which
this.
has units in degrees, your typical latitude and longitude. And usually you want to change that to something more local, whether it's at a Universal Traverse Mercator or UTM, or some other local coordinate system where the units are in the local units, whether it's in the US being feet or other where it's in meters, kilometers, etc.
Okay, cool. Again, slightly higher grade stuff for an absolute like beginner who just wants to kind of grab and look at a map. It is really important. So I think we should have like a beginner session specifically on coordinate reference systems, how they work, etc. I should probably not be working in what I'm working in right now, but it's fine.
Okay.
So basically, I'm just going to show you a couple of other things about the label and how you can move them, etc. So you'll see that these tabs above here, you have formatting tabs, buffers, etc. So I can add, for example, a background to the label if I want to. Let's just give it a slight color. So you can see that that has made a little background onto the label. You can tell the label exactly where you want it to be drawn, etc. So if I want, currently it's on cartographic, but if I want it, say, around the point, you can see that that has moved the label to be in a different area, and you can tell it the distance you want it from the point. So perhaps you want it further away, etc. So there are lots of different options with the label, but if you just want a simple label that doesn't have a background, that is drawn on, there you go. You can literally just go here and say simple label and change around these features. So there are a lot of different things that can show you how to do this, lots of online tutorials, lots of explanations, etc. But this is where, as a beginner user, you can find these tools and how you can start using them. So the very last thing I'm going to show you, this is not the world's best map. I haven't changed any of the other styling, but the last thing that I want to show you, just so that you can make a print layout of, say, your map, is this tool over here. And it's our layout manager. So if you click on that, I'm going to create a new empty layout. And you can give it a title. Again, I'm just going to call it test. And you can see that this window opens where we can actually make a map on a piece of paper. This is our layout. This is what we want our map to look like. So most maps, they generally accepted things that should be on the map, like a title, the name of the person who made it, the attribution for where the data comes from. It's really important. So for this specific map, I've used OSM data, OpenStreetMap data. All of those things would need to come onto this layout. So let's zoom to full so that it's at its largest extent. And you can see on the left-hand side here, we have a whole bunch of different tools. Again, if you hover your mouse over them, you will know what each of the tools does. And I think the most important one to start with is the Add Map tool. So you can see that little scroll with a green plus. Click on it, draw where you would like your map. And you can see now that here's the little park. You can see our little Valerie Dean swings and our roads around there. You can then see on the left-hand side the item that's actually on the page. So our first item is, of course, the map. And if you go into your item properties, you can see the scale that the map is drawn at. You can decide what scale. That's a bit of an odd one. I prefer rounder numbers. And you can see here we're using just our plain old project CRS. So there are a lot more technical things into going for that. But for now, we have a map. It's on a piece of paper, and it's got the point that we're interested on it. Of course, we can also add a quick text. So here at the top,
It was
you can add
asked how to set the size of the layout.
Oh, sure. Okay. So the size of the layout, I'm already in it, but it works when you've just started and not started. You can go to the page, right click on the page, and there's a page properties option. So inside the page properties, this works like any page properties in any computer program. There you can set the size. So you can see that I'm currently working at A4, but of course you can make a map of any size. And you can, of course, make a custom size. I recently made a map for a signboard that had to be like 1.7 meters by some other meters, and it was completely customized, the size of it. So yeah, if you want to change the size of the page, you can do that here. I'm going to keep it with A4. You can change the orientation. I'm currently at landscape. You can change it to portrait, of course. You can see now that my map looks real odd because it's no longer landscape. And that's basically how you can tell what size you want to make the page and the map. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. Alrighty, so then let's just put a title on this. Again, I've come here to the left-hand side. I've said add label, and I'm going to call our map test 1. This is really not the world's most beautiful map. But now we have a little label there, and you can see here there are a bunch of different ways to customize your title. So you can click on the down arrow and you can change the size of the font. Let's double that. You can change the color of the font. Again, I'm quite happy with black. You can choose to center that in the box. You can put it in the middle of the box. So that makes a whole lot more sense for a title of this specific map. And you can change, for example, the rotation, the size. If you'd like to add a background color, you can do so. So you can see there's a gray background color. And as you're going through, you can add these different elements. Another important thing for most maps that you should probably add are a north arrow showing where north is on the map. These are elements that every map should probably have. There are instances that they may not be necessary, but generally you should have these things on your map. So again, this is our north arrow. You can change that. If you don't like how it looks, you can change it to, say, one that looks a little bit more like a compass, etc.
Amy.
Everything. Yes.
There are several bugs with the north arrow object. I think we should be telling people to use the marker symbol instead. It's a lot more flexible with a lot less bugs.
Cool.
Especially for beginners, if they run into one of these bugs and are frustrated why their north arrow isn't working right.
Okay. Let's get rid of that. So you say we must use a marker.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm assuming you just go here. I don't add north arrows like this, so I'm just totally ad-libbing here. So I'm assuming we're going to add marker here.
Yeah, you basically just add a point, and then you get the full QGIS point symbology settings, and then cool. There's that option there to sync with the map for north arrow usage. So sync with map, and then you choose the map object from the drop-down. Up one.
Sorry, my brain is on a thing.
There we go. Map one.
There we go. Choose map. Cool.
And then you can change in the symbol settings. That's when you can go in and change the configure for the SVG symbol and the north arrows you want.
Cool. So let's go and grab our SVG and grab the arrows and grab, say, this north arrow. Oh, no, it's red. Okay, let's change the color of that. Let's see. I kind of like white in the middle. And then, of course, the stroke. And we can, of course, make it quite a lot larger if we would like. Let's just move our little arrow here.
To resize it, you do have to use the size controls within the symbol settings.
That's all right. Let's just double this, I think, and see if... actually, even larger. Let's maybe make it 15. No. Okay, perfect. So there we go. That is our north arrow. You can see there should be a small N there, and I think that's to do with my fill color. Let's maybe make it a gray. There we go. All right.
Could you please repeat that once more?
Of course. So let's do it again. I will show you how to do it. I will delete it and show you how to do it again. Okay. So I'm deleting this now. So let's go to the left-hand side of the screen. We're going to go to add marker. And then we're going to click onto the canvas, and you'll see it's a point, right? Then what we want to do is we want to sync this with our map. So I'm assuming what that's doing is telling us which map, because sometimes on a layout you can have multiple maps. So you can have a zoom in of an area and say the country it's in. So this is telling QGIS which map on this specific layout you want the north arrow to be synced with. So I only have one map, map 1. So that's what I'm going to choose. And then now that I've told it which map I want it to sync with, which is our main map here, because we only have one, then I'm going to click onto, do you see where it says symbol? I'm going to click onto that area, and it's going to take us through to basically a layer styling panel. You can see this is exactly what the layer styling panel is like. And then from there, click onto the simple marker. In simple marker, under our layer, our symbol layer, symbol layer type, we're going to go and choose SVG marker. From SVG marker, just scroll down and go to arrows. And in arrows, you can pick any of the north arrows that you like. So let's pick this sort of compassy looking job. And then, of course, you can customize what color you want it, what size you want it. So I changed the fill to a gray color. I've left the stroke as black. I'm quite happy with that. But you can see it's quite tiny. So what we were saying is you actually have to use these size, the width and height, to resize the marker if we do it this way. So I think it's quite small. I think it should be 3 times that size. So I'm just going to make it to like 15, mainly because I knew that that was a decent size. But you can play around with this, the sizing, etc. But once you're happy with it, that's just how you can get your north arrow. Again, this is a slightly less buggy way to get it. It may be slightly more steps, but it's more reliable. What are some of the bugs associated with the just general north arrow?
Usually it's with how the image is anchored and rotation, especially when using an atlas. Sometimes the north arrow will just disappear into infinity.
And beyond.
Yeah, the X and Y location will be like positive 9 trillion, 999 billion, 900, and etc.
Awesome. Alrighty, so there's a north. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, so that was the I think at this point the north arrow probably could be deprecated, since the marker does everything that the north arrow did and some.
Absolutely, I agree. Alrighty, so then next on the list, we can actually add a legend to the map, which I will show you how to do. So come up here to the
I think Daniel has a question.
Go for it. Daniel, do you have a question?
Yeah. Please, can you come again on how you added the north arrow?
Sure. Alrighty. Please note that there is a recording of this session. So if you want to go back and check over anything, please feel free to go and check the recording. So the north arrow, again, what we did was we just went here to it's called add marker. When we added the marker, we just clicked onto the map. Then we synced the map with the current map that I'm using, which is here, map 1. So I chose map 1. And then I went into our symbol. So here in main properties and symbol, I just click on the box and it will take you straight through to the symbol properties. From the symbol properties, I clicked on simple marker. And once I'm inside the simple marker symbol level, I went here to our symbol layer type and I changed it to SVG marker, which I like to think of as a little picture. In the SVG marker, I went down, I went to arrows. From the arrows, I chose whichever arrow I liked, and then I just customized it. I changed the color, so the full color, I customized, and I changed the size of it because it is really small. So here you can just up the size. You can either click on the up arrow and watch it get bigger on your page. It is painstaking if you do it this way. Or you can just type in a larger size and see if you like the size. If it's too big or too small, you can then change that. So that is just a really quick overview of how you can add a north arrow using the map marker method. That's what I'm going to call it because I like alliteration. And of course, as we now know, the map marker method is a little bit less buggy than just using the north arrow straight. I am running a little bit low on time, so I'm just going to show you the last couple of things I wanted to show you that are elements of the map that should be there. And then perhaps we can have some questions. I know there's no session directly after this, so we can go a little bit over. But yeah, so let me just come here and show you how to add. I'm going to just add a legend and I'm going to add a scale bar. There are a lot of other options. I mean, I often add photographs to maps, all sorts of different things. So let's go here and add a legend. You can draw a box. Now you can see that all of our data that we added, this was already styled. It was bought in pre-styled from OSM. So we did none of this styling, but it's going to show in our legend because it's part of the layer. It's there. It's ready. So this, I am only interested in this leisure playground point. I don't particularly like that it's got an underscore there. It's not very human friendly, that layer name. So we're going to change all of those things and we're going to change what we see here. So here you'll see that I have the legend selected and I am in the item properties. So you'll see that if it is selected, it's going to be bold here under our items. And we're going to go into item properties. So let's just call this legend. You can see the title has come up. The legend is associated with map 1. And what I'm going to do is here, you can see that currently I have auto update on, but I want to update it myself. I want to have complete control over what is shown in this legend. So I'm going to click that off for now. But please note that if you make any changes to your map, if it's not the final version in QGIS in your project and you make any changes, it's not going to auto update. So I'm just going to click it off for now, just to show you that I don't want the roads labels on the legend. I'm going to remove them. So highlight that, make sure it's blue, and come here and just say remove selected item. And as easy as that, that item is gone from your legend. I don't need OpenStreetMap. So these, again, are our layers. If you remember the layers I added to the map, I don't need either of the world map or the OpenStreetMap. So I'm going to get rid of those as well. Note, this is just making the legend. This is not changing your map in any way. It's not deleting layers from your project. It's just for the layout. So now I've got just the point I'm interested in. And I want to change what this text looks like because it's not very human friendly. So just double click on it. And you can see that now I can actually edit this to look much nicer without actually changing the name of my layer without changing anything. So I'm going to put it into capitalized text so you can see this is a playground. We could just call it playground, actually. Leisure playground is kind of redundant. And there we go. We have a little legend saying, hey, this little point that looks like this is a playground. And you can see that's the Valerie Dean playground. So I'm quite happy with that legend. There are a lot of things that you can customize. You can customize the fonts. You can see the legend title, which is legend. You can make the font larger, smaller. You can give it a specific size, a specific font, etc. So that you do under fonts, text, and formatting. So let's make it slightly smaller. You can see that they're group headings, subheadings, and item labels. I don't have any groups of layers and I don't have any subgroups. So the only thing that I could actually change that would make a difference to our legend is the item label. And you can change that again, just to show you how to change it. Let's make it slightly larger. And you can see that our playground label on the legend is getting larger. And you can also just look through, you can have a background or a frame, add a frame to the legend. You can see that that is now outlined. So that's how you can add legend. And the last thing that I'm just going to quickly pop in is you can add then a scale bar to your map. Again, the scale is dependent on CRS, and my CRS is probably not right. But anyway, those are all kind of the elements that are needed for on a map and how you can add them.
Yeah, we have a question.
What's the question?
We have a question asking, what about scaling the map to standard scale?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
I think it's regarding the scale of the map canvas. He said that was a weird, funky scale. Oh, he says, say 1 to 1,000.
Oh, of course you can do that. So this map here, you can see, if I click on it and I go into main properties, here is the scale. So it is currently at 3,200, whatever. If I wanted at 1 to 1,000, I can just change it right there in the main properties. If I press enter now, you're going to see that my scale is now 1 to 1,000. It's zoomed in to that point because it's now at that 1 to 1,000 scale for my map. Although for this specific layout, it does make more sense for us to see that. But yeah, if you want to change the scale of the map on the layout, you can just come here to the main properties under scale and you can do it here. But it does depend on what you're working on in your project. If you need to work to a specific scale in the QGIS project, I suggest working to that scale here with your styling, etc., and then going to do your layout, if that makes sense. I don't think I made that much sense, but there you go.
Question. Yeah, on the adjusting to the kilometers, because I do have the same trouble with the scale bar, and I think to do the CRS, is it possible to maybe explain how to correct that?
Sure. Let me just come through here. So I'll probably need some guidance from some of the more QGIS ready people in the room. But basically, our scale and our project coordinates, our project is in degrees, etc. But you can change that to different coordinate reference systems. So I don't know, what do we use for South Africa? I can't think of it. I think it's QGIS. No. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so let's change it to this. I'm going to do this and say, okay. So I'm just working through and seeing